What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. It's time for my updated New Year's 6 predictions. Definitely a shakeup this week because we had a lot going on this past weekend in college football. And I talked about this before. I think last week. It's interesting because we're going to know the New Year's 6 bowl games, the matchups, really as soon as the rankings come out, because every bowl is going to have a designation as far as conference goes. Except in the Cotton Bowl, you're going to have one at-large spot in the Cotton Bowl, but the highest-ranked team remaining obviously going to go there, and then the highest-ranked Group of 5 champion is going to go to the Cotton Bowl. So it's interesting because the Peach Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl, they normally have the at-large spots. Well, they're playoff games this year. So that's just something interesting about how it plays out this season. But let's get into the predictions here, and I'll kind of go through and talk about how I see the season going the rest of the way for these teams and their path to get to the New Year's 6. I talked about the playoff matchups yesterday in my playoff prediction video, so if you missed that, go back and watch it. But we had in the Peach Bowl, Georgia versus Tennessee, the 1 versus the 4. Again, talked about that one, went through and predicted how I thought the playoff would go and all that. If you missed that video, go back and watch it. I talked more about the playoff there and why the teams are where they are. And then in the Fiesta Bowl, Michigan and Oregon. I've got Michigan as the 2 seed, Oregon as the 3 seed. And again, explained that in the video yesterday. So let's get to the other New Year's 6 bowls. And we'll start with the Rose Bowl. So this one is interesting now. UCLA and Ohio State, my new prediction. I think Ohio State will not get into the college football playoff because I do have them losing to Michigan. And because the resume is just not going to be all that strong, you're going to have Notre Dame, you're going to have Penn State. That's about it. I think Ohio State probably comes in at 5 or 6 in the final rankings. They don't make it to a playoff game, but they do go to the Rose Bowl. Still a really good bowl game. And I'm now going with UCLA instead of USC as the next highest ranked Pac-12 team, because I think UCLA is going to beat USC. They've been playing better than USC as of late. I think they're going to win that game, and because of that, they go to the Pac-12 championship. I do have them losing to Oregon in the Pac-12 championship in a rematch, but I think they're not really going to fall because of losing that game. And so I think they'll be the highest ranked Pac-12 team remaining, and we'll see UCLA and Ohio State in the Rose Bowl, an interesting matchup there. And then we go to the Sugar Bowl, TCU versus LSU. My new prediction here, I think TCU is going to win the Big 12 championship, but with a loss, that loss will probably put them ranked around number 5. Maybe they get in at 4, but I've got Tennessee just ahead of them. Again, talked about that in my playoff video, but I think they do come just short of the top 4. They go to the Sugar Bowl, and then I think LSU will be the highest ranked team out of the SEC. I do have them losing a 3rd game, losing in the SEC championship to Georgia, but I think head-to-head will keep them ahead of Alabama. They'll still be the highest ranked SEC team remaining, and we see LSU versus TCU in the Sugar Bowl. That'll be a good matchup if we get it. All right, how about the Orange Bowl? Now, how about these two teams not meeting in a playoff game, instead in the Orange Bowl? So the ACC champ will go. I have that as Clemson. I think they'll bounce back. Even if they lose to Louisville, though, they're going to go to the conference championship game. And, I mean, they could lose to North Carolina potentially. So, yeah, maybe North Carolina goes to the Orange Bowl. But I've got Clemson here versus Alabama. I think Alabama will be ranked higher than Penn State. That's kind of who it would come down to for that spot, either an SEC or a Big Ten team. I think Alabama does bounce back. They win their final games. They finish 10-2. And we get Clemson versus Alabama. Again, not in a playoff game, but in the Orange Bowl, which is interesting. That's really interesting if it does play out that way. And I think there's a very good chance that it does play out that way. Although if Tennessee does not get into the playoff, they might go to the Sugar Bowl. LSU might go to the Orange Bowl. Alabama might not even make it into a New Year's 6 bowl, or perhaps they go to the Cotton Bowl as an at-large. But instead, I've got Cincinnati and Penn State in the Cotton Bowl. So I still think Cincinnati, I should say, will bounce back. I have them winning the American Championship. I know everyone's talking about UCF and Tulane. I think Cincinnati's actually the team that's going to wind up getting there, getting to that game and winning it. Again, probably not a popular pick, but I still think this team has what it takes to get it done. So I've got Cincinnati in the Cotton Bowl versus Penn State. This one comes down to Penn State and Ole Miss. I think those will be the teams that are fighting for that final spot. It really just depends on how far Ole Miss drops if they lose to Alabama. they might not drop below Penn State. And if that's the case, we would see Ole Miss in the Cotton Bowl instead of Penn State. So that'll be a really, really tough one for that final at-large spot. I think Penn State, though, is going to be ranked maybe one spot higher, and they'll be ranked just high enough to get into the Cotton Bowl as an at-large. So those are my New Year's 6 predictions heading into Week 11. Would love to get your thoughts, your predictions. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.